So we just wait for people to come in, just for a few seconds. If anyone can say hi and let us know that they can hear me and that you can see us and everything's okay.
I'll say hi. Hopefully everyone can hear me as well.
Here we go. Amy, Alexa, hi. Oh, brilliant. Hi, everybody. Great. We're super excited today because we've got Lucy here with us from My Bespoke Room, who's going to be talking all about how to go from that really difficult point of having an amazing Pinterest board, the best Pinterest board you've ever created with everything you can ever possibly imagine, but you don't know quite how to get from that step to actually going through the process of working out how to make a brief for your room and working out the process of how you turn that into a great interior for your project. So Lucy's here today, and she is head of interior design at My Bespoke Room, and she's going to be talking us through their process, and hopefully we can take some tips from that on how to do it ourselves. And just have a look at the advice and the tips and tricks that she can help us with. And at the end of the webinar, she's also going to be giving us a discount for their services at My Bespoke Room as well. Do you want to just introduce My Bespoke Room and just tell us a bit about why it exists and what it's for?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Jane. And yeah, thanks for having me and for joining today. Yeah, as you can see on my screen here, My Bespoke Room, we're really proud. It's the UK's #1 rated interior design professional. We provide online interior design packages to make it just easier than ever for people to be able to style and furnish their home as well. We do everything online. We've got designers that work all over the country, so we can pair you with the perfect designer to suit your needs and your tastes as well. And it's a kind of collaborative online interior design service. We have a couple of video calls, so you kind of get to know your designer. The designer gets to know you guys as well as a client. And we deliver. I'm going to kind of talk you through it a little bit as I go through the presentation, so you'll see sort of the deliverables of a room design. And then the amazing thing as well, all our clients can shop everything from their room design as well. We offer a shopping support service as well, so you can kind of click and buy all the items that your designer's curated together for you for your room design and have them delivered and put it all into place. So we kind of do the whole thing. I'll kind of touch on sort of the value of working with an interior designer as I sort of talk through these presentations. But hopefully, some people are going to do it themselves and have got the vision to do that. But hopefully this will sort of help people, guide them if they want to do it themselves, or also just with sort of maybe pulling a brief together for a designer or for a contractor as well for a project. So
just before we start, if people want to drop their questions in as we go through, I'll be collecting them, and then we can give them to Lucy at the end, and we'll have a little bit of a Q&A session then.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. Shall I get started then?
Yeah, jump straight in.
So I'm going to sort of cover questions to ask yourself about the space that you need designing. I'm going to just use a living room space as an example here. I mean, at My Bespoke Room, we design whole houses from sort of little downstairs loos to big open plan spaces, but I'm going to use that as kind of a bit of a case study because I think it captures a lot of things without being here hours. Also going to speak to you about how a designer might sort of explore various different layouts for your room and how to get the best out of your space. And then also thinking about budget for your project. That's always a tricky one that, again, a designer can guide you on, and I'll give you some guidance on it. And also how to take that Pinterest board and try and sort of define that into a design style that's really right for you and your space. How do you take all these images that you see on social media and everywhere else and really kind of figure out what's best for you, and then also some common design mistakes to avoid. We've worked on thousands of room designs with many clients over the years at My Bespoke Room, and there are a few common mistakes that hopefully I can kind of highlight now and help you avoid making in the future. So your design brief, where to start? like I said, I'm going to kind of talk you through the top 10, I'd say, design brief questions. Just sit down and ask yourself, sit down with your partner, sit down with your family, go through these questions or go through them. Your designer will always go through these questions with you as well. So I'll go through those, a little bit about budget, sort of how to start thinking about budget for a space, and about kind of pulling together that design inspiration out of the many, many images you might have seen and loved. Yeah, Pinterest board, you can see here, I'm sure lots of you have got Pinterest boards like this, you know, you kind of, there might be 2 or 3 of you, like me as well, you know, sort of pinning all to one board, and it can be really quite overwhelming. So I'm going to, you know, you're kind of thinking, what design style do I like? Is it just that I'm kind of seeing influencers with certain home styles? Is that my style? So, you know, you can start to question what you like. How much do I need to spend on this down, you know, what realistically do I need to spend to transform my space, whatever space that may be, and then also what's the best layout for the space. I can't cover everything in so much detail today, but I'm going to kind of touch on those 3 elements as we go through, and then I'm going to show you how an interior designer develops what we call sort of a design direction for your space, so kind of color palette, materials, style, any sort of specific joinery items or things like that, so how to do that, and then how an interior designer might explore layout. So maybe think outside the box a little bit. Starting with the design brief questions. So like I said before, I'm going to use this as a kind of case study. This was a real life client's project about 12 months ago. Fairly typical London terraced house, lovely front living room. They'd actually got a big open plan sort of rear space to and sort of watching TV and yeah, living day to day. This was kind of an extra little snug room that they would quite like to have friends around, play games, sit and have drinks, kind of entertain in there. They'd like a TV in the space as well, but you know, not necessarily a TV dedicated room. So yeah, this is a space I'm going to sort of talk you through as a bit of an example. So these are the first 5 questions, like we will always ask clients, and I think it's worth sitting down and kind of, yeah, going through it yourself. So you're sort of clear on developing a brief for yourself or your builder or your designer. So first of all, budget, you know, what is going to be the budget for things like your furniture, your fittings? You might need new light fittings in the space, lamps, accessories. You know, are you including things like flooring in that budget as well? Is there going to be any bespoke joinery? Kind of just try and, yeah, figure out sort of where you are, what pot of money you've got, and what you need to include with that. And also, you know, are you including kind of labour costs and things like that in it? In this particular brief, the client had a £5,000 to £6,000 budget. It was to include a little bit of bespoke joinery, and paint and furniture and light fittings, but it didn't include flooring or sort of labour costs or anything like that. So it's then worth thinking about the key uses of the space. So who's going to be using the space? What are the key functions of that space? You know, I mean, it gets more complicated when you've got open plan living spaces, when it's got to serve a lot of purposes, you know, living, dining, entertaining, TV, studying, work from home. So yeah, the key use of this space was yeah, that it needed to be like a kind of chill out space, sit and read a book, play games, socialize with friends and family. They wanted a TV, but that wasn't going to be like the kind of sole purpose and sole focus of this room. So the next thing to consider is things like your flooring and finishes as well. So, you know, it's always kind of what flooring do you like the look of versus, you know, is that going to be achievable within budget? Is it practical for the space? You know, does it need to be a super durable floor finish, you know, in an open plan family living area where kids might be dragging around toys, or, you know, you need to kind of, yeah, think about a lot of things with flooring. But case of retaining the existing carpet, but they were thinking about maybe adding a rug to just add a little bit more texture and kind of contrast to the space as well. So that was kind of where we were on this one. Storage is one to always think about as well. So, you know, what are your storage needs for that space? Do you want to be able to hide things away, toys, I don't know, electricals that you kind of want to hidden, you need to keep them, but they can be hidden behind a cupboard door? Or do you want to display things? Have you got lovely books or nice family photograph, candles, trinkets that you might want to display? So it's thinking about your storage needs and whether they're sort of, yeah, display storage needs or or hidden away storage. In this particular room, they wanted some book display storage, but they also wanted some hidden game storage as well, and a possible storage for their logs for their log burner, which sometimes gets forgotten. But they've got a lovely log burner in this space. And then finally, think about any existing items you want to keep. Very rarely are we designing a space and we're going to buy everything new. I mean, wouldn't that be lovely? But we've normally got, you know, clients have normally got a sofa or a lovely dining table, or even things like artwork. You know, you might have some artwork that you want to incorporate into the room. So make sure, you know, the space on the walls. So not just thinking about sort of planning the sort of floor plan, it's also sort of thinking about, yeah, your walls and vertical spaces as well. So in this, for this brief, they had basically they'd got some existing art. They like the idea of maybe a gallery wall, so I was able to sort of help them pull that together and create that. They wanted to keep the shutters in the lovely bay window, and their log burner had just been installed as well. So everything else they needed new for the space. So moving on through these questions, bespoke joinery is another thing to think about. Will bespoke elements help you get the best out of the space? Sometimes loose furniture doesn't quite get the best use out of the space. There might be gaps either side, or, you know, it's not quite got exactly the right sort of storage requirements for you. But bespoke joinery is an investment, so you might want to think about, are you going to be staying at that property long enough, or may you be moving in the next couple of years? And in that case, is it worth investing in it, or is it better to have loose furniture that you can take with you? So it's always worth sort of thinking about that, because it is a real space saver. And us designers love anything bespoke, as I'm sure you know, Jane. But it can be costly, and it's just kind of working out whether it's worth the investment. In this space, they wanted some built-in alcove joinery for maybe TV unit or bookcase, and possibly a bit of hidden storage, but they didn't have a huge budget, so it was kind of a modest bespoke joinery solution to think about. Electrical lighting is another thing, you know, thinking about kind of layering lighting, whether you want sort of cozy low-level ambient lighting in the evening, whether you need task lighting, thinking about where you might need sockets. In this room, the sockets were kind of already, you need to plug in your laptop or a phone, or where you might want to have lamps in a space. And thinking about, and your designer will always guide you on lighting layouts and how to sort of light the space in the best way to suit the kind of light and the space and your needs within it. So this one was, it was a pendant light fitting, but they point, but they wanted a really lovely to make use of the high ceilings, a lovely large ceiling pendant, and they wanted some lamps as well, and the TV sockets, and the sockets were kind of already there for me to work with as a designer. And then thinking about heating system, if you're going for underfloor heating, that's great for a designer. They don't have to think about radiator positions and things like that, but they can be a bit of an afterthought. And sometimes you're kind of caught on site with the plumber asking, where do you want your radiator? So, think about that. Radiator positions take up wall space. So think about that when, planning the space as well. And whether you're adding sort of a log burner or an electric fire or a gas fire as well. This one was just a radiator under the window and not to cover it because they'd already got the shutter, so that was fairly straightforward. And then how many people do you want to seat? So whether this is an open plan living dining space, how many people do you want to seat day to day versus do you like to entertain? Would you like to say, well, actually seat anything between 4 and 8 people? In this room, they wanted to be able to entertain friends, but they knew it was a modest space. They'd got their sort of larger open plan space. So they said sort of realistically 4 to 6 people. yeah, 2 to 4 sort of to maybe sit and watch TV. So yeah, just thinking about seating, yeah, occasional seating, maybe those emergency chairs to sort of pull out if you need to, seat more people around a dining table or things like that. And then finally, will the space need to evolve? So it's kind of future-proofing the space, really. You know, will a playroom need to evolve into a teenage bedroom at one time? You know, might you be working from home in the future that you might need a guest room to evolve into a home office? And yeah, it's kind of just almost future-proofing things a little bit as well. So this space, they were a young couple, but they thought, you know, maybe in the future it might turn into a family snug at some point. So that storage was really, yeah, really, really important. So yeah, layouts, an interior designer will of course always explore the best use out of the space. You'll see, I'll kind of go through this example. The client had thought there was only really one layout for the room. People are quite stuck on all the TVs there, so the sofa's got to go there, and don't really challenge a layout in a room quite often. So this one here, this is kind of the existing plan, the empty room. Really, they needed to make sure, you know, there was enough seating. They wanted a coffee table for games, storage, TV, and think about circulation space as well. You don't want to kind of cram a room full of furniture, but this was kind of the layout the client was, when they came to us, they were like, well, pretty much think this is how it's going to go. Sofa here, TV in the recess here, love seat in the bay window here, or another sofa, and then possibly might be able to squeeze in another armchair. So then we kind of went away and just explored, and you get this as part of your room design package with My Bespoke Room. The designer will kind of go away and explore some layouts. They might throw a bit of a wildcard layout in, and then, you know, you might say, I like this about this layout, this about this layout, and we'll just make sure that we've, you know, explored all the feasible options and come up with the best layout for you guys to suit your space. So yeah, so this one, seat or two-seater sofa sort of here. Can you see my cursor, by the way, just about on this? Yeah, okay, brilliant. And then this was like exploring the option of a slightly larger sideboard here, but then maybe one of the sort of frame TVs, so when it's turned off it doesn't look like a TV, but on the occasions they wanted to turn it on, then they've got that TV sort of central to the room. They hadn't heard of a frame TV, so they were really open to this idea. So the next option 3 here, was tucking the TV sort of wall mounted again, a frame TV that we could kind of tuck neatly in this corner here, and then maybe just some really simple bespoke joinery, sort of a ledge underneath, or it could be a slight kind of cupboard that you can put sort of your TV box and things like that. And most of them are smart TVs now anyway, so as long as we kind of conceal the cables. That, but this was a neat way to sort of put a couple of little poofs underneath that you could pull out as occasional seating as well. And then there was room as well for additional storage on this wall of a kind of console table as well, and some nice artwork above, because they've got a bit of artwork to incorporate. And then this was the other option of then maybe making that a log store, so kind of the fitted little sort of TV unit shelf, and then having the log store there underneath. And then this one here is the 4th layout, which was a bit more of a wildcard layout, in that the TV is kind of not along this wall here, but I proposed putting it on this wall here. So there was a socket here for it with a console table underneath and a nice little kind of frame TV, so it looks like artwork. There was room for the armchair here with some shelves at high level and a nice little reading lamp. And then here we thought about having like a little bench seat here that people could sit on, or it could have the stools kind of sat underneath as well, like before, you can see here. So yeah, this was the one they actually really loved, and I'll show you as I kind of go through the final design that was delivered on this. But it's just kind of showing you how just those few things really exploring the best use out of the space. So shall I carry on through onto budget now, Jane? Shall I just, yeah.
Sorry, somebody was just saying they couldn't see the slides, but I think most people can see the slides. I think, Katie, if you're struggling, you can come out and try and rejoin and see if that kind of starts the screen for you. But I think everyone else is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I was just thinking that is so interesting because you've obviously chosen a really small space, and you know, who knew that there's like so many options within that zone. And I guess you can just see when you get to open plan layouts like a kitchen, a dining, a living room, you know, the possibilities are kind of endless, really, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it would be great to go through prices, because I think that's something that is obviously quite key.
Yeah, and at so many levels, obviously you've got a budget. If you're doing a huge extension or a complete remodel, that's a completely different budget to sort of what I'm going to cover now, because that will do whole other webinars on that. But this one is just to kind of demonstrate in a small living room, sort of thinking about furniture fittings, how those costs can kind of break down. So I'll use this one as an example as I'm kind of going through on this one. But you can see here, this was kind of and this is how you can kind of do this bit a little bit yourself, you know, start to think about it. The client had kind of got a rough idea that they wanted a sort of 3-seater sofa. They possibly want a love seat or an armchair in the bay window, maybe another occasional armchair if it could fit, and then things like lighting, you know, a ceiling light fitting and some lamps. Coffee table was super important to them, to have a feature coffee table and somewhere to sort of play games, and then their paint and joinery. So everything outside of that was in a kind of separate budget. They'd been kind of going around and renovating their house. So this is the sort of budget we were working with. So £5,000 to £6,000 budget. This is kind of an example how this one was broken down. So the sofa, that was sort of around £1,500 to £1,800. I think that sofa, again, depends on the fabric, depends on the quality. We always say, you know, break down your budget. Really invest in the key pieces, like your sofa. You're going to be sat on that, you know. You can save on finishing touches. You can maybe save on sort of lamps, side tables, things like that. But things like your kind of sofa and armchairs, it's really worth investing in, because you're kind of touching and feeling those. So an armchair or a love seat, around about £800 we'd put aside for that, because they like the idea of nice velvet kind of one. And then they'd seen another sort of occasional armchair that they liked, so we'd put sort of say £400 against that. Lighting, a feature light fitting, a couple of lamps, you know, we'd put £400 alongside that. I mean, this is a fairly modest budget. Obviously you can do it for less, much more than this. This is just kind of a bit of a sort of standard standard sort of breakdown, which should help. Coffee table, it's about around £300 for a nice kind of feature coffee table, and then their paint, that it was only just kind of they're just painted, so it's just some kind of feature elements, so we sort of put aside £100 for paint. And then the joinery, there was only £1,000 against this, because they were happy to sort of decorate it themselves, and just it was more like just shelving and quite simple joinery, depending on the materials, as you know, and the joiner who's doing the work, and whether it's completely sort of finished or sprayed or whatever, it can really range. Again, that could be a whole other webinar. We got to about £4,500, which left sort of £500 to £1,500 for sort of smaller furniture items, side tables, rug, some artwork to kind of work alongside theirs for gallery wall, cushions and accessories, all the fun stuff. That's sort of how that works. So it is definitely worth working out what items you want in the room, like how much are you willing to invest on your sofa. You might say, right, I'm going to spend £2,000 or £3,000 on my sofa, and then sort of work back from the bigger items. So that's kind of how we guide clients, and we'll guide them to sort of to work to any budget, really. We work from modest budgets to much bigger budgets. So
I was just going to say, like, those prices, you know, I know from doing consultations with people doing renovations, obviously the interiors sometimes for us, because we're focusing more on the architecture side, you know, it gets left behind a bit, or you think, oh, I'll just put a few £100 to just finish the room off. You know, if you think about you know, every single item does cost, you know, quite a lot of money, and that budget, it sounds like a lot, but that's quite, you know, you're not talking about, once you've broken it down into all the different items, they're not super expensive. You could go much wilder with your prices, couldn't you? And so it's good just to get a feel for it, just to kind of see, like, you know, what those prices are. And then if that feels too much, then it's quite nice to kind of, rather than just buying little bits haphazardly, like the idea of like making a plan for yourself. So you've got a little bit of a shopping list. I mean, that's what I would like to do, is just, right, I can get this now, but I know that it's working towards the full picture.
Yeah, and the beauty, that's a really good point, because we always say to clients they have a shopping list, you know, alongside their design, which they can click and buy. Often clients will buy the bigger pieces, investment pieces, and then they'll come back. The shopping list stays open, shopping support's there with our service we offer. So they might come back and go, oh, actually it's Christmas, I'm going to treat myself to some new cushions and the side table, or oh, I've been saving up, I'm going to buy that lamp that I really love. And you can add to it. You know, very rarely is everybody able to buy everything in one go, but that's a really good point. Or you might have seen something and go, oh, actually I've seen something on Facebook Marketplace
that's would fit perfectly, and it fits in. It's like having that like roadmap in a way, isn't it?
That plan.
Be confident about what you're looking for. I like that.
Otherwise you just see something in the sale and buy it, and then you think, oh gosh, now design a theme around this that I've made, which we do see happen a lot, and that was one of my common mistakes to avoid. So design inspiration. So we talk about creating a clear design direction for your space. So what that is a kind of color palette, maybe material palette. You know, I love brass rather than silver, metal accents. I like light woods rather than dark woods. I like a mid-century feel, a style. You know, I like something eclectic. I like something kind of clean and minimalist. So it's creating that. So you've got a real clear thought about what you love and how you want that space to be. So that's what I mean sort of by a design direction. And at My Bespoke Room, your designers sort of take this Pinterest board now, and then they work with you to pull together a really clear design direction of exactly what you really do love. Because we all know we pin things and we're like, actually, why did I pin that? I don't really know what I liked about it. Oh, it was just that plant at the corner, or, you know. So it's kind of defining that. So I'll talk you a little bit through how we do it as designers, you know, if it's something you want to go and do yourself, but also this would be a process your designer would sort of do with you with My Bespoke Room if it feels overwhelming. So we start by sort of style and color. So we'll do that maybe in a PowerPoint presentation, or you can do it in Canva, you know, to start to group the images and be like, what did I really like about these, or what didn't I like? So the client loved the warm neutral wall color, loved the pops of blush and green, really liked the sort of abstract artwork, loved the sort of textured rugs going on, loved the idea of a velvet armchair or sofa, and quite liked a bit of an eclectic feel, and they like this sort of texture and pattern, but they felt like some of these images were a little bit traditional in style, and they didn't want too much pink. So that was kind of feedback on those images, and they didn't want a really heavily patterned rug. It was all a little bit too much. So it's starting to pick out what you like and don't like. These were on exactly the same Pinterest board, which looked like they could be from a completely different Pinterest board, but you know, it's liked the neutral wall color, loved the abstract wall art again here, loved the textured rug, but it was just too much grey, not enough colour, and didn't feel cosy enough. So that was kind of the feedback the designer took on board, and they liked the idea of a round coffee table, not square. And then these again, same board, they liked that arch floor lamp in the second image, and they loved the idea of a warm and neutral sofa colour, so avoiding the grey. Thinking about possible feature wall colour in that fourth image, but they weren't sure. Liked a light textured rug, loved the large plants to add sort of texture, but it was all a little bit too neutral, like not enough character for them, and a little bit too Scandi, they felt. And then these were some of the favorite sort of bespoke joinery images. They're like the simple design of the first one, loved the second one, but felt like it was a little bit too cluttered for them, liked the modern panel detail, but weren't too sure about adding sort of the colour in the joinery, which is fair enough. And then loved that sort of fluted detail in that sort of top right image, but felt again it was too dark. So it's just starting to, the designer starts to kind of pull together, what do you like, what don't you like, kind of define what the brief for the space is, alongside obviously the layouts as well. So yeah, you start to pull together some of the favorite images, put them together on a page, again, Canva, PowerPoint, whatever you might use, cut it out, print it, and stick it on a board, old school way. And then thinking about sort of the color palette as well. So they like sort of the blush and the gray, but then they were thinking about maybe bringing some green in. So by just typing into Pinterest blush and grey colour scheme or blush and grey living room, you've fed so many images, and it might be that you go, oh my gosh, actually this image, I love this artwork, so I'm going to take a colour palette from that. Or some people have already put colour palettes together, so you can take from that. Or you might see a rug and go, well, actually that's really beautiful. So you can take kind of inspiration for colour from so many things. Often we start with a piece of artwork that somebody might already have, or a cushion they've bought. So there's lots of different ways of doing it. So I'd say start to put it down on a page so you can start to see what you like and don't like. And then, I mean, on PowerPoint you can do it and just kind of use the paint grab tool and sort of pick colours out of images and start to put together a colour bar. You can do it with paint samples as well, whatever, sort of get creative. But digitally is always kind of a quick and easy way of doing it. So yeah, with this one, the design direction was pulled together with the images they loved on the left, this armchair that they really fell in love with on the sort of right. They found that the artwork that they loved the style of as well, and the color palette, the kind of clipped modern sofa but also comfortable, they like that style. Love the idea of a textured rug without too much pattern, so that like Berber style rug. And then the feature coffee table, love the idea of the texture and the marble and the brass, and then like a quirky floor lamp, and then maybe some more artwork, kind of cushions, and love that sort of fluted panel detail here as well. So this was where the designer sort of got to with them, from the Pinterest board of a million ideas to sort of pulling it all together into one page. So you've kind of got, like you were saying, Jen, that focus, like this is where I'm at, this is what I love, I'm gonna try and sort of stick within this, and then we kind of move on from there. So
I was just going to say about that pinning, you broke up a tiny bit at the very beginning, but basically when I think of my Pinterest board, like I've broken it into rooms. So I've got like the bathroom, the kitchen, the hallway, but there's themes that run across all of those. So it's all, for me, it's all like timber clad ceilings, and so I guess what you're saying is you see things that are groups of like similarities, and you put them together, and then you're putting them together and you're saying, what is it? Like, what is it? Why have I done all this? Like, what are they pointing towards? Exactly. And then you just say what it is. And then you find your other common denominator and you make a page for that. And you're just whittling those down so that you don't have 10 images of wooden ceilings in bathrooms, hallways.
No, maybe your favorite, or and start.
I love that, because it's a different way you're categorizing as opposed to room by room, aren't you? Which the themes.
Yeah, because obviously a house has got to be tied together fully anyway, and designers can generally, we have clients so many times come to us with the Pinterest board and they're like, I just don't have a clue what my style is,
what is this?
Put it together, but actually when you break it down you go, well, you have got a style,
there is a theme here.
There is a theme, and it just takes somebody to go through and start picking it with you, and then it's the relief honestly on clients' faces when you start to kind of talk it through and pull it together. They're like, yes, I can see it now.
That makes sense. Now you don't have to start worrying. It's like you've got your core themes and your core elements that you want, and then you get your color palette. I love it. That's really helpful.
That's it. And a color palette could be just like on that cushion on the screen. How fabulous is that cushion? And that actually you could do a whole room design just based on one cushion color palette wise. So yeah, that's yeah, it's a good way of kind of thinking about it. And quite often a designer will sort of ask them, especially about images that have pinned, and they'll go, oh, actually I don't really know why that image out. Then they're not as thrown and they can kind of have a clearer vision. So so and it's all about the designers at My Split Room will kind of push clients a little bit as well, like not fully out their comfort zones, but sometimes it's a good idea to go, have you thought about this, and have you thought about this, and put a different spin on it. So that's another kind of real sort of